Right now, live on Eyewitness News at 6, a March for Freedom in Freedom Park. You're looking at live images right now as protesters start to gather for a march asking for peace and justice. And tonight, the protests and the peacemakers as emotions boil over.
Putting yourself in harm's way is not the way.
Tonight, our team coverage will introduce you to those who stand between police and protesters, and how fireworks turned a peaceful protest into a clash in Charlotte. This is Eyewitness News at 6.
And we begin live right now showing you these live pictures from Freedom Park uptown for the fourth day in a row. Protesters, demonstrations along the streets of Charlotte. Again, this is Freedom Park, where this is just getting underway. Everyone hoping for a peaceful night after we saw some marches and demonstrations turn violent as night fell over the weekend. And as we watch this protest, we want to show you what everyone is trying to avoid, where every protest over the weekend ended after things turned violent. Businesses were vandalized, police using tear gas and flashbangs trying to get everyone to disperse and go home. The arrest and death of George Floyd in Minneapolis has once again awakened a movement across our country, including right here in the Charlotte area, with so many demanding change. Thank you for joining us. I'm Erica Bryant.
And I'm Scott Wickersham. Those calling for that change are also calling for peace as more protests are starting to happen and continuing. Moments ago, another protest began in Freedom Park, and we want to start with Channel 9's Glenn Counts, who's out there live. Glenn, what was the message you've been hearing so far?
Well, Scott, I believe the message is a simple one, and that is they want everyone to come together in peace, love, and brotherhood, and no more of this rock throwing, brick throwing, bottle throwing kind of stuff that we've been seeing over the past several weeks. Now, I'm going to step out of the way here for a second so you can see, just get a grasp of the size of the crowd that we are talking about here. We came here at 5 o'clock and this place was empty. About 15 minutes ago, people started showing up, and as you can see, it is basically a full house. Now, along with the full house here, I see Sheriff Gary McFadden here. The police are here. They're going to be providing security for these marchers who hope to send a message of peace and brotherhood to counterbalance some of the activities that we have seen over this past weekend. And so, you know, this march is going to start here at Freedom Park. It's going to head down East Boulevard, then over to Queens Road West. They're going to take a few different streets in between and then back on Queens Road West and then come back over this way. And I mean, I think obviously if this is as peaceful as everybody hopes it will be, then it will certainly send the kind of message that the people here in this movement want to be sent. That is, they want to see real change. Back to you guys.
Glenn, thank you very much. And I do want to touch back on that Charlotte City Council meeting, a virtual meeting happening right now. We've been listening in. Our Joe Bruno as well has been tweeting as well. There's incoming Chief Jennings, and he's apparently been getting a lot of questions about the arrest of Council Member Braxton Winston. And according to Joe's tweets, Jennings has said, with all due respect, I'm not going to sit and try Winston's case of him being arrested. He said officers had probable cause and treated the situation like any other, and later went on to say, Joe saying that he believes Chief Jennings is making it clear he doesn't want to talk about that topic anymore, saying, quote, it was violent. Officers were being assaulted. We gave a dispersal order. If you're not going to do that, you are going to be arrested. I guess we'll hear more from Joe Bruno coming up, of course, on Eyewitness News and WSOC tonight as he continues to monitor this meeting.
Working as television journalists, we know often sometimes it's the most aggressive, chaotic pictures that our cameras capture, and sometimes the ones viewers remember.
Moments like these, protesters clashing with police. But it's moments like these
love your neighbor as yourself.
We'd like you to remember as well.
When you see someone that looks like me, don't think about the one that threw a brick. Think about me praying for you.
A city turned to prayer for peace and justice.
No justice! No peace!
Channel 9's Blaine Tollison chronicled Sunday night's protests to show us how fireworks turned our city from harmony to chaos.
Last night ended with violence and destruction when it started with peace, prayer, and conversation here at First Ward Park. While the source of the chaos isn't always clear, people who are with the peaceful majority told me their message is
Even our Heavenly Father.
a fitting church-led demonstration with prayer, singing, and a march under a blue sky uptown Sunday. People of all colors stood together at First Ward and Romare-Bearden Park against injustice and racism.
Protest is wonderful because it helps people to both vent their emotions and it helps to raise awareness that there is an issue that we need to address as community.
It's a message Reverend Rodney Sadler says everyone should take to heart. As he took part in protests, he told me peace prevailed into the evening. Outside CMPD, Sadler says some provoked police but were stopped by other protesters, telling them,
No, that's not what we're doing. This is not what we want. Listen to the officer. Let's have a conversation. Let's have a dialogue.
Just before 11, Sadler and others, speaking their piece, went home. As it seemed a majority of the peaceful, organized protesters went home for the evening, the activity uptown here took a turn in almost an instant right here on the patio of Ink and Ivy. Then more damage was done each minute closer to midnight. Chaos ensued. While Sadler says it's hard to prove if it's being organized, he believes much of it is being done by outsiders, and he has personally spoken to some who said they're from South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida.
There seems to be a movement that's here that's antithetical to the larger movement for justice, peace, and social change.
He says it will take more people to drown out their message.
We can bring forth a positive, moral, loving message, a just message that makes sure that's the only message that goes out. That's who we are, Charlotteans, and that's what I think we need to do.
I want to highlight a good takeaway from last night. Reverend Sadler told me during all of that there were contacts and cards being exchanged, even among police, to continue a positive conversation down the road. Back to you.
As poignant as the protests were, more of those conversations that really happened last night. And our cameras captured these moments late into the night. Protesters not facing off against the police here. They were all talking and really listening to each other.
Now, police said more than 1,500 protesters legally marched through uptown last night. Had no issues with them. CMPD said several members of the community were listening to each other and trying to find unity in those conversations. That's what this is about, a conversation. But they did order people to disperse after somebody started throwing rocks and fireworks. Now, about 25 or exactly 25 people were arrested and 4 guns were seized last night alone. Since Friday night, police say they arrested 70 people during the different protests. Now, take a look at this map. It shows you some of the businesses that were damaged last night alone. Popular restaurants like McCormick and Schmick's, Chipotle, and Carolina Ale House had damage. The 7-Eleven right there by Romare-Bearden Park had damage, and also Wells Fargo at Trade and Tryon, and a condo building as well was vandalized. Today, those businesses began to clean up, and they're boarding up, getting ready for more protesting. Our Deshaun Brown is live in Uptown tonight. You can see it behind you, Deshaun. These businesses are, of course, reeling from the pandemic and now not just closing their doors, but boarding them off.
Yeah, Scott, I mean, we've seen a lot of this today, either boarding up damage that's already been done or trying to create a buffer from any other possible unrest. But you can see here, they've also put up a hopeful message. This one reads, "Love, not hate." I do want to take you through some of what we've noticed today all over the city. Wells Fargo, they had quite a few people this morning working to get glass cleaned up on the sidewalk and in their offices. There was similar damage to the new hotel, the Grand Bohemian, which hasn't even opened yet. The impact, though, has really in town. Take 204 North, for example. Most of their employees had only been back to work for 2 days because of COVID-19. And now with the damage they just suffered over the weekend, they're closed again.
We just reopened on Thursday, brought our staff back to work, and now they're going to miss a few more days of work, which is, I mean, it's unfortunate, but it's just hard.
Yeah, and the operations director you just heard from, she told me it is an emotional struggle because she supports why people even feel the need to protest, but she's also trying to protect the jobs of more than 200 people that they are in charge of between all of the establishments that they own. Back to you.
Our Deshaun Brown live tonight. Thanks, Deshaun.
Well, perhaps you noticed flags at half-staff today. It was all to honor those who passed away from COVID-19. North Carolina's governor designated today as a day of mourning, and at noon, there was a moment of silence held. 898 people in North Carolina have lost their lives to COVID-19. Today, this virtual vigil honored those victims and the more than 100,000 others who've died across the country. Religious leaders from all across Charlotte prayed for peace and healing and shared a message of hope.
We pray to God for health and healing, and we take care of our own health so we may take care of the health of our loved ones and our neighbors.
Christian, Jewish, and Muslim leaders all took part in today's event.
As people continue to struggle without work, North Carolina's freeze on evictions was going to expire today, but over the weekend, Governor Cooper extended that for 3 more weeks. He also extended the hold on utility shutoffs for another 60 days. Coronavirus cases in North Carolina are now continuing to drop after a spike over the weekend. The state reporting 674 new cases today, down from nearly 250 yesterday, down about 250. About 9% of those were positive, the tests that were done. Some good news, more patients are recovering. About 19,000 are now healthy. That's more than 60% of the state's cases. The virus now blamed in the death of 500 people in South Carolina. The state reporting just 6 new deaths today and nearly 300 cases. The percentage of positive cases jumped by more than 2 percentage points.
And we're live right now at 6:10, taking you back to these pictures from the Justice Walk in Freedom Park in Dilworth. And our reporter Glenn Counts is out there on the scene. A live update from him in just minutes.
The Atlantic hurricane season is only 1 day old, and we've already had 2 named systems, and we may be looking at a third. I'm going to take you to the southern Gulf and what's trying to form.
We go deep inside the crowd.
But this ain't the way.
Talking to those who call for calm when things begin to get chaotic.
We stood in between that.
Hear from those voices you didn't hear beyond the chance.
Another live look for you now at this Justice March being held in Freedom Park. Protesters gathering for the 4th straight day in our city, and we are again monitoring the protest. We'll have another update from our Glenn Counts, who is out there on the scene in just a few moments.
So what I need y'all to do right now at 16 is come up with a better way, because how we doing it, it ain't working.
A message of strength and calm in the middle of chaos. You might have seen some of that video over the weekend. That Charlotte man's message went viral with more than 20 million views just on Twitter.
Our reporter Ken Lemon spoke to him Saturday night, and Ken joins us now. Ken, he was one of many people out there really trying to keep the peace.
Yeah, and the large majority of the protesters I saw were peaceful individuals, and the ones who stood out were the ones who were working, going that extra mile to make sure that everyone else stayed on their same level. Right here in this very spot, we saw one protester who stood between police and angry people, and another individual who met raw emotion with his own passion. As a crowd of protesters blocked traffic on I-277 Saturday, Curtis Haynes Jr. tried to stand in front of an enraged protester who was focused on police.
What we gonna do? You tell me. What we gonna do? This ain't the way.
Just off the highway, the demonstration stopped as both officers and protesters tried to help the man suffering from exhaustion. Hayes prayed over him
that we are people like this
and asked for divine protection for police too. I want to talk to you for a second. He later told me this will be overshadowed.
That moment gets lost in all of the chaos.
There was chaos, like this man trying to throw a brick through the window of the Bank of America building. He fled as protesters tackled him. We stopped the video as they kicked him and tried to hold him until police arrived. Last night, Greg Jackson with Hugh Charlotte stood between one angry protester confronting officers. He said he was grieving just like the protester.
That is hurtful to me.
Jackson convinced police there was no threat there.
He said, we're gonna get back on the bus because we see what y'all are about.
Cheered. Jackson said 4 years ago he was an angry protester just like the man he stopped last night. He told the crowd protesting is not enough.
You can't go to sleep after this. You gotta stay up.
And he said that the problems facing the black community are bigger than just issues with the police. He started Heal Charlotte to work on those on several levels. When I met with him today, he was working through Heal Charlotte, giving away free food to families who are struggling in the wake of COVID-19, Scott.
All right, Ken, thanks very much for that perspective. Ken,
we switch now to this live look over uptown Charlotte. Look at that clear blue sky, and it was nice and warm out there today. We want to go to our chief meteorologist, Steve Udelson. Steve, haven't seen it look like that. Last week it didn't look like that.
No, it did not, Erica. In fact, you couldn't see the skyline of Charlotte with all the rain that we saw. The rain is now long gone after one of the wettest Mays on record, 7th wettest since we've been keeping records. June is not going to start that way. It's absolutely beautiful out there. Temperatures early this evening are still in the upper 70s. Only Chesterfield's above 80 degrees, and look at the mountains in the mid to upper 60s. Out for that evening walk. I mean, it does not get more comfortable than this after the broadcast. Enjoy. We still have another couple hours of daylight. Keep in mind, we're still gaining daylight each day until that first day of summer in about 3 weeks. Sundown tonight, 8:33 this evening. By morning, upper 50s. This will be the last of the cool air. So again, I hope you get a chance to get out there and enjoy it. Tomorrow, if you're looking to get outside, weather's not going to get in the way at all. It will be beautiful still. Maybe not quite as sunny. There'll be a few more clouds. Maybe not quite as comfortable. There'll be a little more humidity. And I guarantee you there'll be a lot more warmth. There's that futurecast. Most of the clouds we see tomorrow will be along the spine of the Appalachians west toward the Tennessee line. There will be some clouds across the I-40 corridor, Charlotte area, passing clouds at the very worst. So again, if you're planning on being outside tomorrow, early is best for comfort, but it's really not that bad tomorrow afternoon with temperatures rising into the middle 80s. That's where we should be this time of year. There are showers off to our west. We're going to have to keep an eye on those because eventually, as we go through the mid to late week, that's where our weather will be coming from. As you take a look at our futurecast, bright and beautiful to start Wednesday. By the afternoon, those showers that are trying to work in our general direction, still to our west, but getting a little bit closer. Next few days, we will continue to pump up the warmth, the humidity. We're pushing 90 by Wednesday. Haven't seen 90 degrees yet. Typically, that happens in the first week of June. This is our newest tropical depression, third of the season, born at 5 o'clock this afternoon. National Hurricane Center says there's a circulation in there. It is down in what we call the Bay of Campeche, the far southwestern Gulf. Most of the moisture is over the Yucatan Peninsula, wetting down Cancun and Cozumel. Here's a look at our hurricane guidance, all the computer guidance models. We call them spaghetti plots. Boy, look at them going in every which way. The official National Hurricane Center forecast does call for the storm to pretty much sit in the Bay of Campeche the next couple of days, and then all of a sudden get a boost to the north as we head toward Friday and Saturday, likely as a tropical storm. That would be the third of the season. Still well to our west, still nothing to worry about just yet. Our 7-day forecast, it's really more about the sunshine, gradual buildup of warmth and humidity, and some afternoon storms by Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, guys.
All right. Thank you, Steve.
I want to take a minute to share some personal news from our Channel 9 family. If you watch us regularly, you may have known that my friend and colleague, Allison Lottis, was pregnant. She and her husband, Josh, were expecting their second baby girl on May 30th. They welcomed Hannah Joy into the world, but they had to say goodbye just a little while later. So many of you have been writing to us and asking about Allison, and today she and Josh felt comfortable sharing their story, writing, "The past few weeks have been the hardest of our lives. After a mostly smooth pregnancy, at 34 weeks, we were blindsided by devastating news that our baby had developed an inoperable issue on her brain and she would not survive. We were blessed with precious moments to hear her cry, see her eyes open, tell her how much we love her, and about her big sister, Hope. We sang to her and prayed over her. Our families got to meet and hold her. And then Jesus welcomed Hannah Joy home. We've been so supported and loved by our families, friends, and colleagues, and we're grateful for the continued prayers and compassion so many show us every day. And I know you at home will join us in keeping those prayers and positive thoughts coming for Allison, Josh, Hope, and Hannah Joy. It is day 4 of protests in Charlotte after the death of George Floyd in Minneapolis.
He died after an officer was seen on video kneeling on his neck for nearly 9 minutes. The Justice Walk is now underway in Dilworth, and that's where we find our Glenn Counts now, who's been there. It looks like they're still getting ready to head out. Glenn?
Yeah, Scott, they haven't quite gotten started yet. We expect they'll probably leave in the next 10 or 15 minutes or less. But we've moved from where we were before. We are now out on East Boulevard. And I just moved out here because I wanted to give you some ideas to the scope of this crowd. Now, from what you could see, the crowd is all the way here to East Boulevard. Comes and my friend Barry here is focusing us on this group of young ladies here. They are some climate supporters, and they joined us here. They are 15 and 16 years old, and they are here putting their posters and their signs together. They are all fired up to participate in this march. That's the one thing that's really impressive about this gathering here. You've got all races, colors, creeds, religions that are represented here in this crowd. The crowd goes all the way back to the tennis courts. There are hundreds of folks here. There are dozens of police officers. When they get started, in the next few minutes, they're going to start heading down East Boulevard and then go up Queens Road West. And I'm not sure how far a distance is, but it's going to be about a mile or so, and then they're going to come back here. But they're doing this to send a message of peace, love, and brotherhood. Back to you guys.
All right, Glenn, thank you very much. Of course, we'll have more updates on how these protests go tonight on Eyewitness News at 10 and 11 o'clock. Now let's check in with Steve.
Scott, we've got more warmth and humidity beginning to build. Storm chances may wait a few more days, which is A-OK by us. We've now gone 3 straight days without seeing any rain. No problem there. We'll see just scattered storms as we head through late week and into the first part of the weekend.
Thank you, Steve. World News with David Muir is next.
And then join us tonight at 11 here for WSOC Tonight, and also at 7 p.m. over on TV 64.